What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. It has been too freaking long since I've had the opportunity to talk to my good friends, Grant Bills and Perri Goldstein. You can find him at Wisco Grant, her at Perri_Goldstein, of course. Grant, Perri, welcome back. How the heck are you guys doing?
I am well, Andy. You took a very nice looking vacation, so I'm jealous. And now we're less than 3 weeks away from training camp, right? What is it, like 15 days?
We are as this is recording right now on Monday, we are 9 days away from training camp. 8 days as people are listening to this. So buckle in, Grant. We are just about there.
I'm excited. Perri's like, yeah, she can feel the magic in the air. I can tell.
I'm watching quarterbacks right now, so I'm getting myself in the mood. That's
a good idea.
How have you been, Perri?
I'm good. I'm moved since we last recorded, so that's why the new background. And life has just been moving and unpacking, so not as exciting as going to Spain.
No, that was amazing. But you guys are crushing it nonetheless. Grant, literally his foot, he is crushing. And Perri, you are crushing life with moving. But we've got a lot of Packers stuff to discuss. So we will just move right past that. I wanted today kind of talk about, as we are, now basically a week away ish from Packers training camp, just go through some predictions. We've done this in the past of just kind of going through our expectations and predictions for training camp and for preseason. I usually tell you guys, let's do bold and spicy. And then you guys are, can we just do predictions? So we're just going to do predictions. You can make them as bold or spicy as you want. And then we'll kind of wrap things up from there. But I'm really excited for this one. And I've got some fun ones on my list today. So I'm excited to see what you guys have as well. I will cede the floor to you guys. Whoever wants to go first, who's got the best training camp / preseason prediction?
Perri, would you like to go or do you want me to go?
Mine are so mundane. So why don't you kick us off?
All right, I can go first. One of my predictions or something that I'm watching for is if Jordan Morgan does not confidently win a starting spot on that O-line, there will be some who are very upset. I'm not saying me. I'm unbiased in all of this, but I think some Packers fans will look at it and be like, okay, you spent a first round pick on this guy. Like, at what point is he going to play? Right. And I think a lot of Packers fans were excited about him last year and he got hurt. So you obviously take that into account. But something that's come up on my show, it's like, well, if you're going to pay Zach Tom and you paid Banks and you paid Elton Jenkins, and I still cannot tell what they want to do with Rasheed Walker. But like, if they're committed to most, if not all, their O-line, that leaves Belton and Jordan Morgan and then Sean Ryan, who are all top 100 picks, to compete for right guard. And I just don't know that that's the most efficient use of resources draft-wise possible. So I think a lot of Packers fans, one of the top items is going to be what happens with Jordan Morgan, and then they will react strongly, probably, as Packers fans do.
I will say that I think those people are vehemently incorrect. There's a nuance to this. If he's just bad, well, then yeah, then there's reason to be upset that they used a first-round pick on a bad offensive lineman. If he's not winning one of those jobs, clearly because he sucks at playing the position of offensive line, yeah, be upset, be mad. It's another potentially blown first-round pick. That would suck. Go ahead, be as mad as you want. I just like, when are we going to learn as a fan base that this is not how Green Bay operates, that they are not looking to spend a first-round pick on a player who can necessarily just come in and help in year 1 or year 2, that they look at this as a long-term investment. If Jordan Morgan looks like a good offensive lineman, but ends up in the number 6 spot because Rasheed Walker's playing well in a contract year and wins the left tackle job, Aaron Banks is the starting left guard and Elton's the starting center, and Sean Ryan looks good again and is the starting right guard, and Zach Tom's clearly the starting right tackle, and Morgan just ends up the next guy up. Cool. I love having offensive line depth. And if he looks like a good player, but just ends up being the 6th guy, and he's clearly going to start probably next year when either Rasheed Walker or Sean Ryan or both end up as free agents, I'm like, he gets 2 years to kind of sit and get ready and be ready to play. This is what the Packers do. I feel like we shouldn't have to explain this anymore. And I'm okay, by the way, if people disagree with that philosophy, and to your point, Grant, say, I don't know that that's the best use of resources or whatever. That's a fine conversation to have. But if he ends up being the 6th offensive lineman, but looks good and just everyone else is better, that to me, that is a totally fine outcome. And as long as when they do need him, because they're going to need a sixth offensive lineman at some point this year, he's ready to go and looks good and is ready to be a starter. No issue with them being the first round pick. It just, to me, is more to do with who he is as a player than if he's actually the fifth offensive lineman to start the season or not. Perri, feel any different?
No, I actually had one kind of in that realm, which was, I think we're just going to see a lot of rotation on the offensive line. I don't think that's like groundbreaking. I think Green Bay does that every summer. But I do think like Jordan Morgan should and will get plenty of opportunities with the starting five, with the ones, if you will, to see if he does have that spot along the line to start this season. For me right now, it's like a 50-50 coin toss. We'll just have to see what he looks like. But I think all those guys that Grant mentioned will get their time. And like, we shouldn't read too much into it when we see like some random starting five on like day 3 of camp. It doesn't mean that those are the guys going out there week 1. It just means the Packers are looking at everything.
It's going to be when Donovan Jennings is out there again. And I asked Matt LaFleur about it, like I did in mini camp. And he's like, I didn't even know Donovan Jennings was out there with the ones. And I'm like, great. That's helpful. Thank you. So it's going to be something like completely, weird again. And it's going to be like Ben Braden all over, where Ben Braden was with the ones and then he didn't even make it out of training camp and he was cut before cut downs. And it's like, this is just, again, what Green Bay does. There's going to be weirdo rotations. Best 5 guys will be uttered 1,000 times during the course of training camp, and then we'll get to the regular season and they'll get a starting 5, and one of these guys will be the top backups, and Belton probably will be a backup, and we'll all go crazy about it. But I agree with you, Grant. Overall, like, there will definitely be a portion of the fan base that if he's not starting, it's another waste of a first round pick.
Well, and I think that's one of the few things, at least from my perspective, maybe I'm the only one who feels this way, but when we're from home reading tweets from you guys who are at practice, there's very few things that you can glom onto. Like, if a wide receiver is running routes on air, as they say, and makes a nice catch, like, I can't do anything with that. When you tweet out an offensive line alignment, like, that's a legit thing. You can go, oh, that's
tangible.
Yeah, that's as tangible as you can get in training camp. So I think that's another reason why, people might be interested to see where Jordan Morgan goes. Of course, he's a first round pick, but also, like, of all of the things that are usable content-wise or storyline-wise at training camp, I think O-line decisions and alignments are one on some level. So I think that's another reason why.
I've got you covered, Grant. All you have to do is say that Cooper DeJean could have been the player that they took instead of Jordan Morgan. You're good to go from a content standpoint. So
I didn't say it. I was thinking it. That's part of it. Again, some would say that, some would think it, but it did not come out of my mouth.
Understandable. All right, I've got my buzzworthy player on defense. All right, so this is for training camp, not necessarily for preseason, but for camp. Some preseason baked into this as well. But my buzzworthy defensive player for Green Bay is going to be Tyron Hopper. Tyron Hopper is going to make noise. He is going to be talked about as a potential starter in the 4-3. I think he'll compete with Isaiah Simmons. I think he'll compete with Isaiah McDuffie, the double Isaiahs. And I think he's going to make some noise in the preseason games as well. I think you're going to see him get a lot of playing time. I think he'll get double-digit tackles in one of those games. Wouldn't stun me if he had like Christian Welch last year, an interception or two. I think you could see it being Tyron Hopper. I think in the regular season that might amount to him being like the 4th linebacker still. I still expect to kind of see McDuffie in that spot, but I think he is going to be somebody that makes some legitimate noise and is kind of a training camp darling, if you will. That's my prediction for Tyron Hopper.
Do you have any? So first of all, I love it. Do you have anything that you've seen or read or like something that you saw last year that's leading you to feel this way? It's not that I doubt you, because I don't.
Oh, for sure. No, a couple things. I think first of all, I actually liked how he played in preseason and in training camp this past year. He was just raw, and there's just some things that he needed to do to just be a little bit more assignment sure and kind of get some snaps under his belt. He didn't really get that in the regular season. He got, I don't know, maybe 10 snaps somewhere in there. But even those I thought went okay. And then the other thing is I did think in minicamp and OT, there were a couple plays where he was just on top of it. I mean, he looked really fast. I thought that he looked explosive in OTAs and minicamps. And I just think, people see like the expectation, and I was right there too. I didn't love the 3rd round pick on Tyron Hopper. But if you're building a linebacker in a lab for modern NFL, mean, Tyron Hopper's right there. He's big, tall, fast, physical. He is not afraid to get really like to put his nose in there and take on a guard or to go make a play on a running back and again, make a big hit on those guys. And the fact that he's, again, flowing sideline to sideline as well, I just think there's something there. And again, I don't know if that ever amounts to anything from a regular season standpoint, but I think he's going to cause some buzz in training camp this year.
I think that room is like kind of wide open too. I mean, Edgerrin Cooper feels like the lock to start, but like I wouldn't be surprised if anyone stepped up that they could come in at any point and be linebacker too. Like I don't know if the team is that spicy. I mean, Quay has been like incredibly inconsistent, and I think it would be hard to take him out. But then after that, I know they love Isaiah McDuffie, but like. Yep. Is Isaiah McDuffie like a world beater? No, he's just like solid and they can rely on him. So if someone else comes along who's a little bit more athletic, who brings a little bit more juice, who's also solid and reliable, I think he's easily hop overable.
Hop overable. I like that a lot.
I think you just delivered that with a negative amount of enthusiasm. Like, did she try to, there was no showmanship at all.
Yeah, if you're listening on the audio podcast, you have no idea how deadpan Perri was in saying that. Just no, like to the point where I had to do a double take of like, was it intentional or not? Like, and it definitely was. But yeah, to me, I think Quay and Cooper are going to be the two. But I think after that, there's going to be a lot of competition. I really love this linebacker room. It's really thin. There's 7, 8 guys, but it's like, it's all guys that I think are very intriguing at some level, including Jamon Johnson, Christian Welch, Isaiah McDuffie, Isaiah Simmons, Hopper, and then Quay and Cooper. But I do think that there is an opportunity there. And the other thing I'll say is this, like after this year, Quay's a free agent. Again, to your point, Perri, like McDuffie's going to probably be on this team, but he could be the 5th linebacker and you're fine with it. And then Welch should be a free agent. You're not banking anything on Jamon Johnson. So to me, like this could be a linebacker group in 2026 that is legitimately Hopper and Cooper as your 2 potential linebackers. So I am very intrigued by it. And like I said, I'm not saying there's going to be some light at the end of the tunnel where he's a star linebacker or anything like that. Just saying, I think in training camp preseason, he's going to cause some buzz.
Isaiah Simmons is in that mix too. That's a player that I always just forget about. Unless we're categorizing him differently, but like
he's there too. Very much so.
That's a room that last year I liked Quay and I liked Cooper, who was a rookie, and that was kind of about it. And now coming into this year, it's like I don't know that any of them, other than maybe Cooper, will be studs, but there's a lot of names that are like going to have opportunities. Like that's a deep room. I don't know if the depth is any good, but there's a lot of intriguing options in that room. I think that's fun.
Just to kind of keep this same wavelength really quick, and then I'll let you guys kind of take over. I have my buzzworthy offensive player and my star in preseason. So my buzzworthy offensive player in camp this year is going to be Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave is going to be on a different level, and he's going to get the buzz on the offensive side of the ball. Marshawn Lloyd will be the star of preseason, where he gets multiple opportunities to carry the rock. And I think people are going to be astounded by just what he's capable of doing with the ball in his hand. So buzzworthy defensive player, Tyron Hopper, buzzworthy offensive player, Luke Musgrave. I've talked about this a little bit, but as much as it was like a Acme cartoon player for Luke Musgrave, where his feet and his body just didn't match, I joked around on, that might be a show that's coming up this week of like Musgrave feels like there's an alien inside Musgrave that just got the instruction manual on how to operate a brand new Luke Musgrave. And it doesn't really feel yet like he has the controls down right. That's what it felt like as a rookie. In OTAs and minicamp this year, that alien inside of him feels like he's got those controls down, and all of the raw natural talent now is coming out. And I think we're going to see that a lot more in year 3 for Musgrave. So I'm excited about that. So Hopper, Musgrave, Lloyd, 3 that I'm keeping an eye out for the buzzworthy players in camp and preseason.
I like that. Is it now my turn? Have we gone around the horn? Do we need another spicy?
Anyone's just popping things off at this point. So go ahead, Grant.
So I don't know if this is positive or negative, but this is something that came up on a couple of our shows on our network last week. You always say like, what are we looking for? Like, what's our checklist of things that we're watching for at camp? Other than, of course, individual players who are excited to watch. I started to think it's like, I don't know that between training camp and preseason, we're actually going to glean a whole lot, because think of how last year went, right? Very impressive, did a lot of good things, but where did they come up short? Where did they leave us wanting last year? The biggest games against the best teams, right? It's almost a little, in a very different way, 2021-ish, when we're coming into a year basically like, okay, like I know you're good, but I need to see you in January, or I need to see you against divisional teams. And you're just kind of caught in limbo, just waiting for some of those biggest moments. And I think that might exist with this team a little bit too after last year. Like, we know they can do it. We know the pieces are there. Excited to watch individual guys and see what they look like, obviously, but let's, like, big picture as a collective. I just think we're going to be sitting and waiting with this team. We won't have to wait very long. Week 1 against the Lions is huge, but I don't know that anything in camp or in preseason is going to massively influence our outlook for the season, big picture. Individual players, yes, but I think as a team, we're just going to have to wait until week 1. And that's not the case every year, but I think this season it might be.
Just to play off that for a second, this isn't a prediction or a bold take or anything, just more of, I am massively intrigued to see how Matt LaFleur handles this preseason, knowing that week 1 is Detroit and then 4 days later is Washington, both games at home. And after not being able to beat good teams in 2024, how much he realizes, like, hey, I need to make sure that my team is ready to go for these. I can't start 0-2. I can't start 0-2 in the first 10 days of the season. I have to at least do 1-1, and I would really like to be 2-0. These are 2 massive games to start off with. We've seen Matt in the past pump the brakes a little bit in preseason and maybe utilize week 1 as kind of that, not walkthrough, but like there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve in week 1. I don't think you can do that with Detroit coming to Green Bay week 1. That's a divisional game at home, and going 1-5 in the division a year ago, and you start with a loss in Detroit or against Detroit in Green Bay week 1. That's not the taste that you want in your mouth to start the season. I'm very interested to see how he plays preseason this year.
Do you think he'd do anything different? Like, I think this is like a very like fan, reporter take to be like, oh, beginning of the season, like, look at the storylines. I feel like if I'm Matt, I'm like, day by day, take it day by day, do the thing we know how to do, like, not change it up too much. Like, we know that we can be a good team and we just need to like be consistent, because I can just see him like not making any changes.
Maybe he doesn't. I think he has to be acutely aware of 1-5 in the division and 0-6 against good teams this past year. And like, and even regardless of that, and it's not like he didn't feel like Philly and Brazil wasn't a big game or anything like that, but man, Detroit coming to Green Bay in week 1, that feels extremely important, and especially now with one team getting a bye at the end of the season going into the playoffs. And again, that's a long ways away. I don't think he's thinking that, right? But this is a massive game. And I think it just in general, how they lost again in week 1 last year to Philly, albeit in Brazil, some weird circumstances, slippery field, ice rink, sort of situation, but they still lost again in week 1. And I just think that he's at least going to have to go through in his head and say, are there changes? Do I need to do anything different? And maybe, again, to your point, Perri, maybe that answer is no. But for me personally, I'm interested to see if there is anything different in preseason this year.
I think the important thing, to your point, Andy, because normally you don't put too much stock in week 1, right? Week 1 is notoriously wonky. Yep. Weird things happen. Things kind of shake out the way that they, you kind of expect them to over the next like month or so. But this one for Green Bay, especially, is big. Like, you are correct that like this is like this opponent that just ran circles around them last season is kind of a little bit of the demon. Like, you want to exercise those demons. You get the opportunity to do it week 1. I think for me more is like, can Matt LaFleur like get his guys up? Like, is the piss going to be hot week 1? Or are they going to come in and do a, 38-3 dud, right? And I think if the ability for this team to walk into that game hot and ready is going to be pretty telling of like how they're going to be. I don't want to say the rest of the season, but it's going to be telling if they've like learned from last season. Can they get hot from the beginning? Can they start hot? Can they keep the momentum going? Can they hold a lead? Right? Like, these are a lot of questions that we asked ourselves last year, and they have the opportunity to show us like we've progressed in week 1. Again, I don't want to put like too much stock in a week 1 game because there's new players. Everyone's like shaking off a little bit of rust, but it is an interesting opportunity.
I'll put all this stock in. I think that game's massive. And Perri, to your point, I don't think Matt LaFleur publicly is like, it'll be business as usual. And, I think he'll say the things that he normally does, but behind closed doors, like, I know it's just one game, but I can't imagine a bigger week 1 game. They haven't beaten Detroit, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, at Lambeau since like 2021. Right? Was it
2020? Well, last year they did not. I know in in the last year of Rodgers, the year before that, they lost with the last year with Rodgers, they lost with the opportunity to go to the playoffs, whatever that was.
So it was 21 the last time they made the playoffs, right? Or with Rodgers last time they made the playoffs.
Yeah, that could be right. I'd have to double check it. But yeah, either way, they just need to do better against Detroit. And again, I just think it's a massive game in week one way or the other. So yeah, to me, again, I'm not necessarily saying they have to do anything different, but it definitely feels like they've got to figure out a way to come out, to your point, Perri, as fired up as possible, ready to win that game. And if they don't, I'll going back to what you were saying, Grant, I don't think, or maybe it was Perri, one of you said like we shouldn't generally read into too much in week one because it's like a wonky, like if they win or lose, I'm not going to in general be like, well, that's your 2025 Green Bay Packers, either good or bad. I do still think that it is, there's a long way to go, but you certainly can't start off 0-2. And I would really like to see them start off with a really sound start to the season, clearly.
Well, the problem is you guys both know this. If they lose that week one game, it's like we're right back to last season, like with what fans are saying and thinking, like we'll just be picking up where last year left off, which is, unfair and, a little silly. But if you lose to Dan Campbell again at home and you're 0-1 to start the year, like, I don't know. Put it this way. It's not how you would like to start the year. So I just don't think we can overstate that game.
The one good thing is if they do lose that one, they do have one coming up 3 days later or 4 days later against Washington, where if they can come back and, hopefully get a big win against Washington and then hopefully win in Cleveland, win in Dallas, all of a sudden you're 3-1, get your bye week and end up back in home against Cincinnati and have kind of that fresh start, that fresh outlook. But yeah, give me the win against Detroit. I would much prefer that than anything else in week one. So, and hopefully no, we're not going to say it. All right, Perri, you're up next.
This is I don't know which way I want to go. Can I do a lame special teams one?
Please do. That sounds great.
Grant loves special teams. So, well, we all on this, the three of us have complained about Packers special teams forever and ever and ever. Don't think we've ever had a season where like things are good. So like, can anybody bring some juice to special teams? Is Mecole Hardman going to be like this new punt return savior, or are things just going to be who's bringing the juice on special teams?
Isaiah Simmons, Mecole Hardman, Keyshawn Nixon, Christian Welch. I want a big Christian Welch preseason. I think there's definitely players there, but I do think it's worth monitoring because I talked about it on, one of my expectations for 2025 that'll come out later this week. But this needs to be, and this isn't even a crazy number. This needs to be a top 16 special teams unit in 2025. There's no reason for it not to be. They've got the kicker, they got the punter. Orzic is on his third year in Green Bay now. They've got players that can go cover. I'm really high on Isaiah Simmons as a special teams guy. Enough's enough. All I'm asking for is top half of the league. 16 is fine, but you've got to be in the top 16. This cannot be a bottom half of the league special teams again. Just can't happen.
Kicker, punter, and then you name 3 names, right? And Rich Bisaccia has kind of always had guys on this team. There's always been a couple Rich Bisaccia guys on this team. And then you had Mecole Hardman and Isaiah Simmons. It's well, if Rich Bisaccia and a collection of his guys with the right kicker and punter can't do it, then I question how you can never have good special teams then. Maybe it just can't happen in Green Bay then.
I had on my list as a bold prediction, Mecole Hardman will follow in the footsteps of Desmond Howard and have a huge return in preseason that solidifies his spot on the 53-man roster. So we're doing the callback, Mecole Hardman, getting that the big punt return to get him a 53-man spot. And he's, of course, then the only thing to do from there is go on and win a Super Bowl MVP and be the hero like Desmond Howard was for Green Bay. So, might as well.
If that happens, great. Awesome.
If not, everything's over. We're all screwed.
It's all over.
All right. Who's got another one? Anyone else got one keyed up? Otherwise, I got a couple here.
You take one, Andy. Give me 1 sec.
What did you say, Perri?
I have a few, but you go.
All right. I've got it. The Grant will appreciate this one, and it'll make his life on the air easy for the foreseeable future. Jordan Love is going to throw a solid amount of interceptions in training camp. It's going to get totally overblown, and it's not going to matter at all. So that's my Jordan Love take for training camp. Like you're going to hear like, Jordan Love threw a pick in camp, Jordan Love threw another pick in camp. Like I think it's going to be a little bit more than usual. Don't have a reason why. Just predicting he's going to throw some picks in camp. He's going to try some things out, test that arm out. He's going to be feeling it a little bit. He's healthy. The legs are underneath him. He's going to be forcing in some throws. Xavier McKinney and Carrington Valentine are going to be picking off some passes. Everyone's going to be panicked. The gunslinger's back. Jordan Love hasn't learned anything. And then he's not going to throw any picks. He'll throw like 2 picks in the first half of the season, and it won't matter at all. So everyone's going to go crazy, and it'll be totally fine. So that's my Jordan Love prediction.
This time of year is when like there's not a lot going on, but training camp has started. Like if Jordan Love throws 4 interceptions in one practice, like that's making cowherds run down. Like that's getting taught. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of thing that goes on the graphic, and it happened to JJ McCarthy. When like I don't even think it was like a credentialed reporter. It was like an aggregation Vikings account tweeted that like McCarthy was struggling. And then it's like, there's something we can run with that. Like that'll make a good topic. So you're right that if he does do that in camp, it will get run. And I also agree that I don't really think it matters.
Totally will not matter. All right. I got a couple fun ones. Let's see. Where do I want to go? All right. Kingsley Enagbare will be traded before the start of the regular season.
That's spicy.
Yeah. I've talked about this one a little bit. So people
reasoning
maybe
to clear the runway for whom, Andy?
All right. So here's the easy definition and explanation of the Kingsley Enagbare trade. Rashawn Gary, LVN, Colin Oliver, Barron Sorrell are not going anywhere. You've got 4 defensive linemen that I think are basically locks to make the team. Defensive ends, I should say, locks to make the team. So what you come down to, if you want to keep 5, which they could keep 6, they kept 6 last year as well. But if you want to keep 5, you have this beautiful, sort of debate and competition between Brenton Cox and Kingsley Enagbare. Well, let me just tell you, first of all, I thought Brenton Cox was better last year when playing than Kingsley Enagbare. That's number 1. That's kind of important. Number 2, he makes $2 million less. Kingsley Enagbare got a salary bump because he met a certain amount of snaps in year 4 as a non-first round pick. So his salary goes up to $3 million plus, and it's non-guaranteed. So you can trade and or cut said player, and it doesn't end up being as a big cap hit. It actually ends up being almost a negative for Kingsley Enagbare in this situation, rather than it being a positive, unless he makes a team, which in case it's a $2 million positive, but it could actually affect his ability to make the team because Brenton Cox will make over $2 million less than Kingsley Enagbare this year. Not to mention, Kingsley Enagbare is an unrestricted free agent next year. Brenton Cox is a restricted free agent, so Brenton Cox actually has team control, and Brenton Cox is slightly younger than Kingsley Enagbare as well. So if you get to the, this number 5 defense, I'm not saying they're necessarily the number 5 defensive end, but the 5th defensive end that's going to make the team, Brenton Cox basically has every inherent advantage over Enagbare, unless Enagbare is just better, which in that case, you maybe just keep Enagbare. The one last thing I'll add on top of that, I don't think they probably find any trade value for Brenton Cox. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they get anything. I do think with his experience and with him being still young, not making a ton of money, that some team that's in need of defensive end, which is like every team in the NFL, I do think some team is willing to say, we'll trade a conditional 7th round pick for Kingsley Enagbare, which is another reason why maybe you move on from Enagbare because you can actually get something in return. Whereas with Cox, you might not actually get anything in that situation either. So, and I'll just even add on top of that one more thing, because why not? Aaron Mosby is your 6th in that situation. And you can get him back in the practice squad. And I think you actually feel really good about Mosby being potentially your 6th on the practice squad as well, where he made the 53 in 2024. If he can be a practice squad guy that you can call up, you're probably not super upset about that as your 6th defensive end either. So I actually think that there are a plethora of reasons why this could potentially make sense. And even just saving the $2 million in that situation could be a reason why they try to move on from him and get something in return.
Is that the headline? Is that the number 1 reason why? Does it start with, we could save $2 million if we do this, and then all the other reasons kind of follow suit? Like, is that kind of the main motivation for it, do you think, though, if they were to do it?
I personally think Kingsley Enagbare was one of the more disappointing players from 2024. So that might be why my bias is there as well. But I also think usually when you see a surprise cut or trade or something like that, the dollars and cents play a big role in it. And it's not anything egregious, right? Like it's not like he bumped up to like 8 million or something. But if you're, again, deciding between 2 players and one is younger, cheaper, has more years of team control, Like if it's a tiebreaker, if it's anywhere near a tiebreaker, Brenton Cox wins this in a landslide based on those things. So Enigbari is going to have to beat out Brenton Cox clean, or there's going to need to be an injury to one of those guys ahead of him in order for Enigbari to make the team. That being said, defensive ends are valuable, and you can never really find enough of those guys. So maybe Green Bay's just like, no, we'll keep all of them. We'll figure out the rest elsewhere.
That's spicy. I like that.
Perri, yay, nay? Am I an idiot? You can tell me I'm an idiot.
No, I actually agree with you. He was incredibly disappointing. I also found him to be a bit of a liability. Like, he caused a lot of pretty bad unnecessary penalties, which when you're playing close games can like really make or break. Just like very bonehead moves that I don't know, if I was running a team, which I'm not, I would keep in the memory bank, especially when it comes down to Andy's point, making a decision one way or the other.
Perri, you said you got a couple more in the hopper for you. Who do you got?
Wow.
I had a Jordan Love one, but I think we talked Jordan Love, but this is like the least spicy take that there is. Okay. This is
just takes today. No, that doesn't have to be spicy.
Bananas and vanilla ice cream. I'm watching how healthy this roster is.
Whoa. Like bananas and vanilla, like, are you saying
just,
together?
Bananas are bland, vanilla ice cream.
Okay. I thought you meant like this goes together like bananas and vanilla ice cream. I'm like, that's not a normal I mean, I know the banana split.
What's wrong with bananas and ice cream? That sounds delicious.
I'm not saying it wouldn't necessarily be like, again, there's a banana split, but just cutting banana, like, I'm not going to put a bowl of vanilla ice cream out and be like, all right, what topping do I want on here? You know what? I'm just going to slice some bananas up on top of this vanilla ice cream.
Two examples of bland foods.
I understand it now. We're good to go.
Like
Proceed, Perri Goldstein. My apologies.
You just want to talk about food.
I did.
Okay, well, I just want to see how healthy this roster is. It's a lame take. But I feel like every year we go into training camp and there's like kind of a surprise injury that we don't know about that happened in the off season. I hope that's not the case, but this is going to be, I don't know. The bye is early, but it also means that this team has to stay healthy longer in the latter half of the season. So got to start off healthy to do that.
I'm just loving right now that Grant looks like a digital like Grant, because it's all black in the background. And like, if the screen's not bright, then he just like fades into the darkness. And then there's like a new, like, then all of a sudden, like you get this jump scare of like Grant's back on the screen. I'm loving every second of that, but
we're both in new spaces. Perri used her brain to turn on a lamp. I didn't make it that far tonight, so apologies.
It's all good. No, I do think that of course the health of this team is going to be a major aspect. And quite frankly, there was some weird stuff that happened at the end of minicamp that I'm not necessarily concerned about. Well, like, we didn't even see 7th round pick John Williams. Like, he wasn't there. We didn't see Quay Walker per Packers PR. He is going to be back for training camp. So hopefully that's the case. Like, Aaron Banks had a mystery injury at the end of minicamp and was not out there the last couple of days. Like, there was, and then of course we've got the Elton Jenkins hold in situation that's likely going to happen. There's just a lot of stuff that was surrounding this team. Kalen King had a cast. Micah Robinson was beat up. Colin Oliver and Warren Brinson didn't practice. Like, there's just a lot of these guys that I just would hope that are out there to start training camp. I don't need any, especially rookies or primary free agent signings that are not ready to go for the start of training camp. So I think it's a worthwhile inclusion, Perri.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good for you, Andy, by the way, for being like, and we didn't even see John Williams. And I'm like, you're so right. Like, what the heck happened there? It's a little Florio, like, everyone has a mixed opinion on Florio, but like, I love him because he's just like so dialed in on things that not a lot of people care about. And
Here's my Florio take. I'm not a Florio guy. I don't ever go to Pro Football Talk to read anything that's going on. Of all like the insiders, it's my least favorite. I think he's a necessary evil. I think you need like just sort of this rogue NFL insider that actually is like legitimate. Like, he gets real stories and real information, but he's just like, he's not, I get that he has like the NBC stuff, but he doesn't act or feel like he's beholden to anyone. He's just a wild card. And I feel like there is like almost a necessary evil to that in the NFL. So I'm okay with it on those grounds.
And he's a throwback reporter in that, like, he's not trying to necessarily, he does want to get clicks, but like, he's like, what are those sleazy owners up to? I will shed light on it. Even though like no one's really that concerned. Like, is the football on my TV on Sunday? Like, is everything going okay? But Florio's like, they mustn't get away with this, which I kind of love. I have one that can base off of Perri's,
Beautiful.
if I may piggyback, if I can, I'll
away.
I'll hop over.
And it'll be like Perri's vanilla ice cream to your bananas.
Okay, not everyone has a cupboard loaded with toppings. Some of us have to look, and we have 2 aging bananas in a bowl, and we're like, that's going to have to do it. And maybe a little dab of peanut butter that you warm up.
What? I can't even. I can't. Just go.
Yes, Grant. Yes.
Melt a little peanut butter in a ramekin, pour it over, and then it gets kind of hard on the vanilla ice cream. On the health item, I think Kenny Clark, it would be very nice, let's just say, if Kenny Clark comes into camp and starts the season and we're all like, oh yeah, he was just hurt last year. Like, he's not old and decrepit and like on his way out the door. Like, he just had a really bad toe injury last year, and that explains everything. Like, if you could just put those concerns to bed, that's not really a prediction or a take. That's just me like setting the framework for what could happen with Kenny Clark, because this defensive front is a lot better with Kenny Clark playing at a really high level. If he's not, it's like, okay, they're fine and they can get by, but I don't know, again, if getting by works when you have to go against O-lines like the Eagles and the Vikings, and they have to see the Vikings twice. So that's kind of where I'm at with health. Specifically, Kenny Clark, I think, is my first item.
They're going to need more from, if that would be the case, from Colby Wooden, Carl Brooks, Devontae Wyatt. Those guys in the interior become massively important if Kenny cannot play at the level that they need him to perform at. Just one step further, and I want to combine two things that you mentioned, Grant, of I think Kenny's important, but going back to your phrase from earlier, I don't think we're going to learn anything about this pass rush and defensive front until the season starts, because last year they were awesome. Remember, like, John Harbaugh and the Ravens in the joint practices were like, we couldn't block this defensive front. They look dominant up front, and we're all like giddy. We're like, oh my God, like the pass rush is going to be incredible. And it was just like, it's fine. It's not what I was hoping for. So I think it's going to take until the regular season. You're going to see it right away against Detroit, and that really good. I mean, they don't have Ragnow anymore. I get that. And they don't have Zeitler anymore. I get that. I still think that's going to be a pretty solid litmus test in week 1 of where they're at.
Yeah. On the list of things that I don't think we're going to know anything about in preseason, the wide receiver depth chart. Anybody? I think it's going to be very similar to the O-line, where they're just putting everybody out there, and like fans are really going to want to know, like, how is this going to shake out and who's coming up as wide receiver 1? Like, oh, Jaden Reed dropped a pass. He's still bad from last season. And like, is Matthew Golden like our savior and knight in shining armor? Like, we're not going to know. We're just not going to know any of that because it's training camp, and we're probably not going to know anything from preseason either. So if you're hoping for wide receiver depth chart answers, I'm sorry, I don't think you're getting them.
The important thing is that we talk about everything as it's massively important, and that it's going to change the world in every step of the way. That's really the most important part of all of this. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that, you know, this time of year when football starts and training camp starts, we are so deprived of any real football stuff, right? Like we've listed everything. We've studied every draft pick and reviewed what the Packers did in the draft. And we studied every free agent and reviewed what the Packers did in free agency. And we've looked back at 2024, but we are so deprived of any information that, to like you were saying earlier, Grant, of like you just glom onto anything that you can. Like we start getting stuff and it's like, oh, like it's the dopamine hits of like every little thing that happens. And it's important. It's fun. We embrace every second of it, but it is worth noting that every little thing that goes right, wrong, doesn't go the way that we want it to, or there's a player in a spot that we're like, what's going on here? It's not going to mean a whole heck of a lot until we get some proof of concept. And even then, I think, you know, once we hit that bye week after those first 4 games, we're going to know a lot more of where this team is at.
Yeah. It always takes a month. It always takes a month.
Very much so. All right. Let's exhaust our lists. Grant, you can go first. What else do you have on your list, if anything?
I only have one item left, and it's somewhat a bold prediction, but not that bold. I just wouldn't be surprised if we get to the end of the season and Romeo Doubs has quietly been the number 1 wide receiver all along. And he's just quietly week to week, just kind of done his thing. And then you look at the stat book at the end of the year and you're like, oh, son of a bit, like, look at that. Like, he was the guy. And I don't know. As we get closer to the season, I just feel better about him just coming in, being businesslike, and just having an awesome season. And I don't know that it's going to jump off the screen every week, but I could see this season going like that. And I know we're all focused on Reed and Wicks and obviously the two rookies now, Williams and Golden, but I just wouldn't be surprised if that's the type of season that Romeo Dobbs has.
I'm sorry, you're disqualified. This is preseason and training camp predictions only. That was regular season predictions. So.
We will not see it in training camp then. Like I don't know that I don't know that we're going to have like articles and podcasts be like Romeo Dobbs looks unbelievable. I think it's just going to be very businesslike, and that will start in camp. Let me frame it that way then, I guess.
Beautiful. Nice save. Beautiful save. All right, Perri, do you want to exhaust your list?
Yeah, I have Marshawn Lloyd firmly RB2, which you already touched on, and Jordan Love back healthy, looks true to form.
Love that. And I think you're totally right on both of those things. All right, I've got
Jordan Love really quickly. Did you see the Jeremy Fowler story where the quote was like, another year with LaFleur and those weapons, he'll be fine. Like, it was such a nonchalant quote. I can't remember if it was a scout or exec or coordinator. Like, I felt good reading that, where the guy was like, oh yeah, he was banged up last year, he'll be fine. Like, it was so dismissive of Jordan Love's kind of rocky second year.
And also with the context in front of it, I think it sounds even better, because the earlier quote on it is, Love appeared ready for top 10 status by the end of 2023. Quote, he was effing outstanding per an NFL personnel evaluator, play action on time, big arm, confidence. And then there's like, then he dealt with the knee injury. It took him some time to figure out how to kind of play through injury. And then your quote is, yes, another full off season with Matt LaFleur, more receiving options, and he's going to be just fine. So like, that very, very high on. And if you haven't checked out the episode yet with Warren Sharp, go check out him as well, because he was massively bullish on Jordan Love this season as well. So that's very exciting also. All right, I've got 4 totally random ones, and you guys can pick and choose which you guys want to talk about, if anything, here. All right, number 1, Javon Bullard will, somewhat surprisingly, compete with Evan Williams for the safety job opposite Xavier McKinney. I think a lot of people just expect that to be Evan Williams' job no matter what. Now, Evan Williams is going to win it. Evan Williams will beat out Javon Bullard for that spot, but I do think there's going to be what at least will appear to be a true competition for that starting safety job opposite Xavier McKinney. But I think Williams will in fact win it, but I do think there's going to be a competition there. Number 2, I have nothing to go off of here. There is no reporting. There's no news. There's no rumblings. There's no rumors. There's no nothing. I think the Elton Jenkins contract situation will not get resolved until the very end of training camp. Hope I'm wrong. I very much, maybe I'm just emotional hedging here, but I am expecting that this is going to take a little bit of time and will not be something that just resolves at the start of training camp. I hope that somebody can play this back to me as they're listening to it and be like, as we hear news in the morning from Adam Schefter that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers have agreed, or sorry, did I say Aaron Rodgers? Packers and Elton Jenkins. That was amazing. Packers and Elton Jenkins have agree. And when I say Schefter and Packers, just Aaron Rodgers immediately comes to mind. That the Packers and Elton Jenkins have agreed to. Perry's just dying. Packers and Elton Jenkins have agreed.
We're so PTSD from that situation.
I was gonna say they're in the trees. That was my first thought.
You hear Packers and Schefter, and it's just Aaron Rodgers. No, that hopefully there's just an agreement made, but I'm going to say that this actually lasts a little bit of time into camp, and it doesn't get done until like end of August, or right near cut down time.
Does it matter? Sorry. Does it matter as long as it gets done before the season?
In this case, I think it does, because he's moving positions and snapping to Jordan for the first significant time, and just getting the cadence, the calls, everything like that down. I think this one actually does matter. Also, it just feels like, and I don't want to speak this into existence. It feels like every time there's a hold in or hold out situation, then the player comes in late to camp, they ramp up quickly, get ready for the year, and all of a sudden, boom, soft tissue injury. Like it feels like it happens like Brandon Ayuk last year. Like he gets into camp late, they finally get him going, he goes out and plays, immediate like injury, and the whole season's gone. So I'm not wishing that into existence, obviously, but I do feel like that stuff matters, and I do want him in camp sooner rather than later.
Is he not going to practice?
What's that?
Is he not going to practice? Like he's there, but not practicing?
That's my guess. That's my guess.
That's what it feels like. You're asking Andy. I don't know why I'm answering. I'm going to turn my
we're on equal footing here. No, I think that is absolutely the case, is that he'll be a hold in. He'll be there because he doesn't want to get that huge fine for holding out. But, like I've got a minor back, or I've got a minor knee, or, something where he won't actually practice until they figure out something, would be my guess, but we'll see. Then just two fun ones. The Packers will go undefeated in preseason. That's I've said that one before, but they're going to go undefeated in preseason. And Taylor Elgersma will be must-watch fourth quarter preseason football. Those are my predictions for this offseason. That's all I got. Anything stand out on any of those?
I'll buy into that last thing, and I just love those late summer local cable Packers preseason broadcasts where the announcers have polos on, and I just can't wait. So anything along those lines, I'm going to buy in. The Elton Jenkins thing was the last thing that I would chime in on. It's like that the situation that you're describing seems so avoidable. Like
it does.
If you plan on doing this, and if you're willing to do the contract to extend him another 2 years to give him some more guaranteed money to secure a spot, then do it. Like I don't want that to be a thing in training camp for the first 2 weeks where it's like day one and we're like, it'll happen probably the next couple of days, and then it doesn't. It's just I understand last year with Love, that was a little bit more complex situation and there were things to be ironed out. This one does not seem. I also think that a Zach Tom extension should be done before camp. Like I don't want any of this crap dragging out into actual practices. So I want the Packers organization to just get that done. I don't want to belabor that whole thing. So I'm with you on that, and I think it's important.
What's the difference between belabor and beleaguer? Never mind. We're not going in that
I don't know.
direction. What's the word now? Beleaguer? Yeah, beleaguer. I don't know what the difference between the two is. This is what I'm thinking.
Why drag it out? Let's just. Do you ever try to just use a big word and then fail? So then you just back up and use a dumb word. I do that all the time.
One is a synonym for being in a very difficult situation, beleaguered. The other is like you're emphasizing a point.
That's belaboring?
Mm-hmm. You're elaborating in excessive detail.
There you go. The more you know. See, this is what people come to the Pack Day podcast for. The more you know. Now
they kind of both fit for this situation, though.
They sound right. And that's half the battle.
That's all that matters in life is if it sounds right in the sentence or not.
I've been big on the word baguette recently. One thing begetting another. I don't know why.
Well, I thought you meant like a baguette. Like I thought we were going back to food for a moment.
No, I wouldn't. I know better. I wouldn't dare. Not at this point in the podcast.
Go get a snack, okay? Go get a snack.
I'm going to go get a snack right now. After saying Aaron Rodgers, after Adam Schefter, after bananas and vanilla ice cream, after beleaguer versus belabor, and after all of this, I very much need a snack at the moment. I need a Snickers bar. This is, I think, the 6th episode that I've recorded in the past 24 hours. So I'm out. I'm tapping out right now. It's over. It's done with. We're calling it right here and now.
Andy, you never know. You're the consummate professional. So I would have never been able to tell.
You could tell at the end of this one, I think, because we talked about some ridiculous things, which is exactly what I'm here for. And it's exactly what we need right before the start of training camp is a little levity in this situation. I cannot thank you guys enough. Grant, I'll start with you. What are you cooking up? What do you got coming out on the radio? Anything you want to plug on the way out?
Well, this is an absolutely massive week. It's one of the biggest sports weeks of the year. It's the All-Star break, which is when everyone takes vacation. So our main host, Bill, is off. So I'm doing 10 to 2 and 4 to 6 on an hour this week. So I'm going to dig deep on the home run derby and the All-Star game and all that stuff. And you can find my show. Just go to my Twitter @WiscoGrant, and all the links are right there. So you can look up the show and my name on YouTube, and you'll find it there too. But I just go to my Twitter. Big week, massive, lots of huge stories coming out of the All-Star break, I'm sure.
I almost went down a baseball rabbit hole, but I'm going to go get a snack instead. So Perri, what do you got? When is PAX What She Said? What the hell is Maggie coming? I need more Maggie in my life, and of course I need more Perri in my life as well. When is the next episode launching?
I also need more Maggie in my life. We will be back from maternity leave. I say we, like I pushed a baby out of myself, but the show will be back for training camp. So when training camp begins, we will be back recording, and we can't wait because we've missed it. I miss her too. But that's all. You can follow me on social media. I'm not really participating in social media until the show comes back, but you can follow me anyway.
Do it, and make sure you're following, obviously, the Wisco Sports Show, and make sure you go out and subscribe and get those downloads for PAX What She Said, because it is coming out soon. Of course, do the same for the Pack a Day podcast, 365 days a year. You guys are the absolute best. I cannot thank you enough. I was going crazy without talking to you guys for too long, so it was great to catch back up with you, and now we'll be doing this more regularly as we are back in the swing of things. Follow him at Wisco Grant. Follow her at Perri_Goldstein. You can find me at Andy Herman NFL. I'm going to go grab a snack, but until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.